Jim, you can still hear us fine?
Loud and clear.
Okay, good. Well, we'll go ahead and open the August meeting of the Keystone Heights Airport Authority. It's August the 12th at 6 o'clock. And we'll open with Buck, if you would open in prayer, please, and then we'll have Pledge Allegiance.
Okay, sounds good. Let's pray. Father, thank you for another beautiful evening. Thank you for our neat city. Thank you for our airport. And thank you for the opportunity to make decisions to move us forward. So give us wisdom tonight and give us unity. And God, just continue to guide us as we try to make this airport just an incredible airport. So thank you. Bless us and guide us through this evening in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Play ball.
All right, thank you. Craig, if you would provide a roll call. Evans?
Present.
Mr. Fryer?
Here.
Mr. Agenay?
Here.
Mr. Ludwig is on a work assignment. General Lyford is by phone.
Here.
And Colonel Brennan.
Here.
Okay, well, that is it. Any public comment?
No.
No? Consent agenda.
Yeah.
We all had an opportunity to review the consent agenda that was sent out to us. So,
Move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
good. So we had a motion, a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Consent agenda is approved, and so we should say any opposed. Okay, consent agenda
It was
approved.
unanimous, the vote was unanimous of those present.
So the consent agenda, that was the approval of the 2025 financials for June and the June 30th, July 1st, July 27th board meeting minutes. All right, very good. Mr. Bill Prang, what do you have updates for us for?
Good evening. Just a couple quick updates. You'll remember on the new hangar project, you submitted 2 grant applications to the FAA for 2 different types of FAA grants. I asked for an update again today, and essentially there's no update, meaning the grants are working through the process. There's no known problems, no glitches. The money's there. It's money you're entitled to. So I think we're just waiting on paperwork, congressional announcements, and the like. I actually have 6 airports all waiting. So waiting is pretty common right now. So no news to update there. We also have repeated our inquiries to the FDOT about their ability to fund the shortfall. And Craig and I have both asked together and separately. And I think the latest feedback was last week, which was they're still in the early part of their fiscal year and trying to shape up what money is available for contingency funding in the DOT's budget this year. So no direct answer from them on that either. Any questions on that project? We had a water management district permit that's being processed. They asked a bunch of questions. We answered and resubmitted those today. So we expect that'll get done in the next month or so. Okay, second project, the fencing project over on the West Side Service Road. I just did a punch list inspection today. There's 8 or 10 items that are incomplete or maybe they weren't done properly, going to have to be remedied. So I will get that typed up tomorrow, sent to the contractor. Probably going to have to meet them back out here to explain to them what they did wrong on some of them. But I have all faith that they'll address those in the next couple of weeks. And I already talked to Craig about what was on the list. There's a few things he had already noted. And actually, Craig, I'll probably run the list through you tomorrow or Thursday before I ship it to him. So if you note anything else, you can just jot it down and add it to my list. And I don't have any other reports. There's other things going on, but nothing report worthy. Any questions for me?
I'm good.
No?
All right, thank you.
That was easy.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Jim Taylor, you have any update for us?
I was going to make a report on an update regarding the firm situation, but I understand that's going to be an agenda item on the for the September meeting on September 9. And also because Mr. Ludwig was not able to be present tonight, I'll defer any report I give until the September 9 regular meeting.
All right, thank you. Well, then our airport manager, Craig, do you have anything you would like to share other than what you have shared?
No, I guess this monthly report is something new that General Eifert requested, and I modified it just a little bit, tried to keep it to 2 pages and not be redundant with some things, but I don't plan to present it per se. Just that if anyone has any questions about the information that's on it, it's just, and for everybody, it's just standard what's happened over the month, our financials. It's kind of a condensed version of what you all should know probably anyway.
Well, I'd just like to share, I think I found the information helpful or useful. You know, such to kind of get an idea of how many operations went on last month, how many itinerant traffic we had last month. I think is interesting information to know, along with the other information. So I think it's helpful.
Hey, Dave, can I?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. So this is an initiative I brought up to Craig. The big thing for me is I felt like there was several months in the past where if you weren't tuned in through your own initiative to what's going on at the airport on a weekly basis, it's very difficult to kind of get a feel as a board member, kind of what's going on at the airport. So this is just an effort to kind of, you know, a big picture snapshot of what's been going on for the past month so that we have a feel for what Craig's challenges and issues are. And so I would encourage us to kind of review it at the meeting, give people an opportunity to ask questions, bring up other issues that it might raise. I think it'll be a healthy opportunity for dialogue, discussion, and education among all the board members, some of whom are much more in tune just based on their backgrounds or their proclivities, that kind of thing, as to what they understand, and educate a lot of us as to what's going on. So thanks, Craig, for doing this, and don't hesitate, everyone who's looking at it, to kind of ask some questions so that we can be a more educated board and more in tune with what's going on. I'll start with asking a couple of questions, Craig. On the section 1, letter B, under airfield status, you mentioned the airport beacon is currently in off. What is the impact of that on airport operations?
0.
So an
No
airport
one
beacon is
uses
not
them
required,
anymore.
it's
With
just a,
UPS, no one hardly uses them anymore. We're gonna get it fixed and, you know.
Oh, I still look for the beacon at night.
I know that, but it doesn't, it doesn't affect your ability to land here.
No, that's true. It does not affect
So if
a person's ability to land
Right.
because we can turn the runway lights on from the aircraft and identify the runway. But it does help to identify the airport from a distance.
okay, so there's no FAA requirement to have that beacon operate.
I'm sure there is, but I mean, it's not been 2 or 3 weeks. I don't think we're in violation of any FAA.
And it's NOTAMed.
That's
So if a pilot's doing proper checks, they'll know that when they're coming to this airport at night, they won't have a beacon.
Okay, thank you. It looks like we're on the path to have that fixed soon anyway.
Yeah.
I think this,
Question on those, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, you go ahead, Jim, I'm sorry.
No, I was just moving on to the next thing. Do you have anything else on that topic?
No, go ahead.
Okay, the 7100 and 7110 buildings, those are the Rockland buildings, is that true?
correct.
And are those both hangars, or they include the warehouse?
No, those are just the two hangars that are next to us
Okay.
here.
Well, they call that one it's set up as a warehouse, but it's a hangar. They're the big two commercial hangars.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay. Nice job on the keypads. You think we got a fix for it so future lightning events won't mess those up again? Is that what we think?
That's what we're hoping. It's not been, I guess, tested yet, but probably won't be long.
Before it's tested?
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to ask.
Can you, go ahead.
Well, down in item 3, you had some information about a plane skate.
That's what I was gonna.
Is there a recommendation that we, do we need to vote on that, or?
It's above my spending authority.
That's right.
Hey,
But we need
Hey,
something to remove disabled aircraft from the movement surfaces, and my research has shown that there's nothing as easy, that may be cheaper, but it's a lot harder to use. This is very easy, where you just tow the aircraft up on the ramp.
Well, I looked at their website from the link that you provided, and it looks like a very easy tool to use, where you just wrap a strap around this landing gear strut, and then crank the strap tight, and it pulls the wheel up onto the little platform.
Essentially.
And it looks like that would be very helpful in.
They do a bunch of business with the flight department in North Dakota, because they're up in Minnesota. They had a couple of government contracts for big aircraft, so
Yeah.
I think they're well established.
I agree that.
It looks like they make it for different category size aircraft.
Say again.
They make it for different category size
They make
aircraft.
2 different versions, or maybe possibly 3, but this is the smallest that would suit us.
Yeah, I would agree. We would definitely need it. Do you think we have the money in the budget right now we can
I
buy?
do.
How much?
6,500 plus shipping and taxes or whatever. I would, I don't know if I can make a motion on it based on this just being a report, or do we need to
It's a good
just
question.
have a consensus? Well, no, it's above your spending limit, so we have to vote on it.
Yeah, that's why it's on the report, so that we can vote on it if we need to.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we allow Greg to make the purchase of that plane skate from disabledaircrafttools.com in the amount of, let's say not to exceed $7,500.
There's a motion for the purchase
I'll
of it.
second.
Second? Seconded by Buck. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Yeah.
The ayes have it.
Hey, Dave, I have a couple more questions on the report, if that's all right.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
And back in the maintenance and infrastructure section where you had FDOT inspections, can you elaborate on the inspection schedule for next month on the 15th?
It's just it's an annual thing that they do to give us our state of Florida airport license. It's just a day, essentially. Bobby Ludwig and Scott have done it previously, where they go around with the FDOT inspector, and he just makes sure that everything's in compliance.
Where they look at the condition of the runways, the taxiways, look at the
They look at the
glide slope clearance.
Sure there's no impeding or trees coming into the glide slope. They look at the paint conditions on the runway, runway lighting, taxiway lighting, signage,
Right.
drainage, I guess, if there's any flooding areas. So usually we don't have any problem, but I think the guy, he's usually here. Is it David Smith that does it, I think? He'll probably be here like for 3 or 4 hours. They just go around to the different runway ends and check everything. Does that answer your question, Jim?
Yeah, thank you. Is there any preparation required, or is it just kind of normal duty?
Obviously you want to I guess I'm gonna say normal duty because we don't really have anything out of spec, but if we did have something out of spec, you obviously would want to get that repaired before he inspects you again.
Yeah, I know you've had some concerns about, fading runway markings, I believe.
Yeah, he's
That,
written that up
something-
for multiple years and he's gonna do it again this year. And the projects are
Is there-
just too expensive to do with the timeline of our upcoming runway rehabilitation projects.
Yeah, I know you've been trying to, find workarounds to improve some of those. Is there anything you need the board's help on with any of that?
No, sir. They're just shot.
Okay.
When are we up for runway painting and all that restriping? Is it still several years off or?
I believe there's a standalone painting project in the budget, in the DOT budget. Because both projects have runway reconstruction or rehab, the painting would be part of that project. So in lieu of a standalone painting project, we have two runway rehab projects.
Seems like last time we got a quote, it was like $92,000 to paint both runways.
Yeah, it's usually when we budget something like that, we budget 150. Because every runway needs a little different. Sometimes you need the mildew removal and other things. The state, at one time, the state had a statewide contract for that, and they had a procurement problem. The contract was canceled. They're gonna reinitiate a statewide contract, but all that does, the price is no better than the open market. It just gives you a quicker vehicle to contract with a company to come do that work. But again, there's not a standalone marketing project. We're waiting for the runway rehab projects, and we'll completely remove all the pavement and repave it, both runways, and you'll mark them after that.
Okay, thank you.
I don't believe you're in any danger of losing your license, however. It's pretty common for them to comment on markings. Many markings beyond 2 years old will raise a comment from the inspector. But that doesn't, I think only repeated neglect, years-long neglect, or, actual damage to the markings might put you in jeopardy of a license. But from what I've seen, you're not at any risk of losing your license.
Right.
Bill, is there anything we should be doing that we're not doing with those then?
No, I've actually looked at them recently. I think what you have is good. All things considered, I mean, they have age on them, but they're not unusable, and there's nothing about them that's incorrect.
So they're typical for their age.
Yeah, like most of us.
All right.
A question, Craig, on the financial, you have the expenditures is 22,000 over the revenue, and then you said above budget expectations. When you meant above budget expectations, were you saying in a good way or a bad way?
Good. Things
Okay.
fluctuate month to month.
Yeah, right. Okay. I had a question on the RIF grant. Have we given you the guidance that you need to complete those, or is there things that you need from the board on that?
I don't know that I need direction from the board, but they're very extensive applications. They're not as easy as the appropriations application. Require a lot of information, including project maps, timelines, you name it. Kind of like if Bill were preparing to build this hangar, he'd have to, all that stuff leading up to the planning and, right before design. I don't know, I think they're asking for a lot, so I don't know how much I could provide without spending money for Bill to come up with the documents they're asking for.
Right. Is there anything that the board can do for you on that? Do we need to help you in some way?
I don't think so at this time.
And we expect to submit them, though, is there a timeline to do that by?
I think it's first or second week of September.
So that only gives you a couple of weeks.
I'd say 3 to 4, yeah.
Okay. So you think we're on a winning timeline to be able to get that done, though?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I know they're a pain. So the ready thing on the next page, you're talking about strategic initiatives under funding. It seems like last time, or we continue to kind of be in a wait and see mode. Is that what Bill was talking about earlier in terms of things not being clear as to what DOT is going to do yet because of the start of the new fiscal year?
No, the ready thing is completely separate. I don't know that.
So, go ahead.
No, go ahead, sir.
Is that legislature dependent?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So it says that the statute needs immediate attention. What does that mean? Is that, what should we be doing?
Well, anything that can be done to get legislation changed, or otherwise, some of these projects aren't going to happen at this airport. That's just reality. That now that
Yeah.
the airport has to pay for 20%, we just don't have it.
Didn't you
Well, we still
mention,
don't know whether that's a fact yet, do we?
Can I interrupt?
I guess so.
So, General, this is Bill. There are a number of airports, as you can imagine, that all got the same news. I forget how many ready airports there are, but 17 or 18 ready airports.
30.
30, yeah, okay, thank you. So, I can just, so the industry for the last 2 months has been talking about it since the issue first saw the light of day. There are a number of people that would like to see the legislation changed. Although I can tell you across all 30 some airports, it's not, they don't universally want the same change. Some of them want just some more clarity. Some of them want the language completely removed, go back to the way it was. And the Florida Airports Council, which represents a number of airports in the state, member airports, that they have been asked to take it up as one of their legislative initiatives. But they admittedly adopt a legislative policy which is more like, we can fail at 20 things or we can succeed at 2 or 3. And so they currently choose, the leadership there chooses to focus on 2 or 3 legislative issues. So this might be on their list. It might not rise to the top 3. And I think it's a wait and see to see if the Florida Airports Council will use their lobbyist to try to influence this issue. And I can tell you also that some airports are greater, impacted to a greater extent and a lesser extent. In my experience, if it stays as is, your impact will be greater than most because you have a $4.5 million project in your program, of which 20% is roughly $800,000 to $900,000. I do know some other airports that have projects that are more in the $500,000 to maybe $1 million range. They would love to see the rule changed, but they're also working through their budget process to scrape up the 20% and not lose their project. The difference there being it's a lot less of a reach to come up with 20% of a $500,000 project. So I say all that to say it is kind of still across the board with the way airports are impacted and the way they're responding. I'll just give you this too, this is just my observation across the industry for 3 decades. This is small potatoes in the world of Florida public airports, because the 30 airports that qualify for this are sort of by definition, often have less legislative clout, less representation, less resources. None of those 30 airports has their own lobbyist. And some of those 30 airports are either city or county run, and they don't get the same level of attention as a board run airport gets. It's also easier, pick any county that has a $200 million budget. You know, for them to find $100,000 in their budget is pretty easy. For percentage-wise, it's a smaller lift. So I'll also give you one other just fruit basket turnover here. There are 7 districts in the state of Florida, 7 districts. Even the 7 districts are not applying the words of that legislation the same. And I've asked trusted sources. I don't believe there will be one policy written from Tallahassee to tell all 7 districts what to do. I believe in the end, each district will be given their own discretion on how to apply what's in the statute. And at least for this first year, this is another, it takes a long time to turn a big ship. I think for this first year, there might be a few projects that get a different decision, but for the most part, decisions will stand as is. And maybe next year, we may find after the actual impact is felt. I think for some people, they think it's an imagined impact. And in the rearview mirror, they'll say, well, wow, that was really a big impact. We didn't think that through. Whereas every airport like yours is already thinking it through, you can tell what the impact would be. But that was a long-winded answer, but I just came from a conference last week. This was discussed by a number of people at the Florida Airports Council conference. The DOT staff that was at the conference was limited, 1 per district, and they were tight-lipped. They didn't speak a buzz about this. So it was discussion amongst other airport managers and consultants about what's going to do. There was a lot of hand-wringing, but there was also a lack of consensus. That's where I got, just listening to conversations with 2 handfuls of other airports. There's not one consensus on this is what needs to be done. So it's a bit of a spaghetti bowl.
I appreciate that information. I was going to ask about the fact conference last week, and I knew you were gone. We didn't end up sending anyone because of the cost, but appreciate the update from you on what was going on. It sounds like from what Craig wrote here that the Florida Airport Council Executive Director was given some guidance to make this a top legislative priority, but you're not certain that they're actually going to put this on their top 2 or 3?
So that's just my opinion, and I do not have her phone number. I don't have the position to talk to her directly. I just heard speculation that, at an annual conference, she probably got hit with 12 or 20 top legislative priorities. And I believe she treats every member airport fairly, but I don't think it's too much of a stretch to say if the director at, say, one of the large commercial hubs thought something was important and Keystone Heights thought it was important, it's going to be a different weight for those 2 issues. So I'm not privy to the list.
Right.
I'm laying out for like 2 weeks, and then I'm going to ask one of the members of our engineering community that's on the FAC corporate committee, because I know the corporate committee is pushing for the organization to put it as a top legislative priority, but I don't think that, I think it's going to take some time for issues to sort themselves out. And I will say Craig, and I'm helping Craig. Craig's been very proactive. He's already seeking other funding sources for the project. So Craig's not just laying down and saying, well, that looks like that's a sour apple and we're just going to do nothing. He's actively pursuing funding for the same project through the FAA. And I think through that discussion may come a robust conversation about FAA funding or shared FAA and FDOT funding for different parts of the project. So that we didn't, you already have a small piece of the funding, and so that we didn't fritter any funds away. We haven't started doing any design work. It would not make sense to me to do design for a project that maybe will have delayed construction funding, because then you've paid us to do something that you can't build. I've never thought that was a good use of money. So I want to see that you can fund the construction with a good funding plan before we start design. And the most recent deadline, we said we would talk to the DOT. District 2 rep again was October 1st, I think, Craig. He said he would like to hear from us October 1st on what our funding plan is.
October 31st.
31st. Yes, thank you. It was Halloween. I remember that now. So, and I expect on Halloween, we will tell him our plan is for him to fund it at 100%. Which has been the plan, by the way, for the last 5 years. And he didn't hang up on me last time I pointed that out, but I did kind of say, you're asking us for a funding plan. We've had this funding plan for 6 years. It's a good plan. We shouldn't change the plan. And he said, well, you know, legislative language often changes plans. I think that was his remark. And we agreed that was the end of that phone call. Save more for the next phone call. So I think Craig, again, I didn't see Craig's report, but I'm sure Craig has indicated in his report that he's actively pursuing other avenues to fund the same project. The runway still needs to be rehabbed. So well, I would like to, after David Smith writes up the deficient marking again, I think we should say to the DOT, look, here's another reason why you funding this project has always been part of the plan. We've been deferring runway striping so that we didn't spend $100,000 and then just tear it up a year or two later. So there's more than one reason why that's a good project for the DOT to fund. So we haven't given up on it by any means.
Just for a matter of facts, it says there's two Google answers to the number of airports, public airports in Florida. One says 125, the other says 129. So that puts us in about a 20 percentile group.
Yeah.
But that 20 percentile group may only handle 3% of air traffic, probably through the whole state or something like that.
I'm not sure.
Makes us small peanuts.
So we're a minority group.
Yep.
Yeah, well, by the very definition of what a ready community is, you have less activity than other airports, both in size and numerical count. No less important,
Right.
but maybe less clout when it comes to needing clout.
Well, next time the governor lands here, we'll just charge a $100,000 landing fee. And no free hot dogs.
We'll need you to do that 9 times and we will have funded it.
You're welcome to come back anytime.
Yeah, please.
All right, on the topic of business attraction, I'm going to give everybody kind of a quick update on the meeting that we had a couple of weeks ago with the Florida Commerce Secretary, Alex Kelly, along with the National Drone Association president and several interested parties from both Keystone and Stark on potential business development in the drone world that could potentially be interested in leasing property at our airport. So nothing definitive. There was just a lot of interest, especially with the proximity to Camp Landing and the extreme interest in the DoD right now to get after the drone challenges that have been kind of come to light with the war in Ukraine and how that has really started to revolutionize a lot of warfare. And so a lot of interest there right now, nothing specific to report other than interest from everyone from Space Florida to National Drone Association to even a cabinet member of Governor DeSantis's administration being interested in Keystone Heights, particularly because of the location and the size of the airport and the things that we offer. So we'll keep you all informed at the board as we get more information and anything that comes up that might require some board decisions. On the next bullet on the aspiring tenant checklist progress, I think we mentioned a couple meetings ago that we developed a checklist for interested tenants who are potential business development opportunities on the airport to take the checklist and kind of start working through the steps. And so I just put this on here to allow Craig to give us some updates on where people are with these things, because they come in, they give us a briefing, and then, you know, we hear crickets for a couple months. And I often wonder, okay, well, what's going on? Are they still interested? Are they not interested? Are they working on, you know, the next steps to getting something to the board to be able to evaluate on these and get it through Jim Taylor for his review and that kind of thing. Craig, I think you have, what, 3 of these checklists outstanding to Banks, Billman, and anyone else, or is that just those 2?
Frank Fields.
Frank Fields is the other one.
Yeah.
Okay, so all of them have the checklist and they're taking steps to move toward potentially bringing potential lease to the board?
The Frank Field ones, I'm just not sure on. That one is, we've never even really met. But Billman, I've not heard from in several months, and Tyson, I'm just waiting on I guess a condensed operation list from him.
I guess another one could be Rockland, based on the briefing they gave us a couple of weeks ago. Do they have a checklist as well?
They do not.
Is that something you think they need, or they already know the steps that need to be taken?
That's a good question. I mean, it doesn't hurt to send it to them.
Okay. And I know you and Dave have a meeting planned. Is that scheduled with them next week, or
Not at this time.
on the other issues? Nothing scheduled?
Yeah, we're working on getting something scheduled.
Okay. Excellent. Thanks for doing that. The FAA meeting scheduled for the 14th, is that with the appraiser?
Correct.
Okay. And if you get a time on that, please let me know. I'd like to dial in if they don't mind me.
I'll ask her. You're not on the list at this time, sir, but I'll ask her.
Okay, thank you. And on the maintenance thing for the John Deere, that was executed. You don't need any board assistance on that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, the cost was over my spending limit, but it's an operational kind of emergency need. So I don't know if that needs an official board. And I don't have the exact cost with me either to cover that.
I looked at David and Scott, maybe how have these been handled in the past? Is that something just the manager does, or do we need board approval?
So our purchasing manual, if it exceeds the manager's authorized amount, he can go out and get 2 other bids and then take low bid from that. And
That's if it's over 10,000.
no, there's one, for the one over 10,000, it requires 3 bids, 3 sealed bids. And it states it's board action on what we did with the tractor. You had the 2 bids, so you took the lowest bid and had it fixed because it's got to be fixed. You needed it fixed.
Right.
And it doesn't say in our purchasing manual that that requires board approval. You just have to have those other bids to prove, the amount that you paid.
Okay.
So do we need a
Then-
motion for this?
No, it was under
No.
emergency purchase. It's covered, is what David's saying.
Yeah,
Okay.
Craig followed the guidelines in the purchasing manual with respect to it.
Okay.
Okay, very good. On the next one, you talk about non-aeronautical leases. There's only 2 that aren't in the process of some type of action. I believe that's remote control folks and the shooting range, correct?
Sportsman's Club.
Yeah. So what is it that needs to be reviewed?
I was just told by the FAA that when we're ready to look at those leases to let them know.
It's just,
As I understood it, Craig, maybe you can, I may have lost the plot here. I was thinking the issue was we had to get, fair market value appraisals on those properties to be compliant with the FAA's requirements. Is that accurate?
Well, I think the leases need to be sent to the FAA for review to have them tell us what needs to be done.
Okay, is that something you're planning to do?
I'm at the board's direction.
Okay, so does anybody want to discuss that topic at all?
So those two leases are classified as non-aeronautical leases, correct?
Yes,
Right? So
yes.
it sounds like they would need an appraisal be done as well. As well as a review of the particular lease. Is that right?
I would think so.
Yeah.
well, are their leases up for renewal at this time, Craig?
I think the Sportsman's Club you have to catch it within a certain window annually, but the Sportsman's Club has been, I use the term expired for a couple of years now.
Okay. I just see it says new and renewed
Cloudbusters
leases.
was automatically renewed in May, as I recall.
And that's an annual renewal?
Yes. Which is another topic that we will need to discuss as to the suitability of that operation where it is right in the runway environment. You know,
Right.
I think it's something worth discussing when they're up for renewal again in May as to whether or not we'd like to potentially look at moving them to a location that won't be, you know, quite beachfront property like they are now, because they really have no need for the runway environment to operate their systems, and they could potentially be interfering with other aeronautical tenants who could be interested in that property. So I think it's something the board should discuss, whether or not we want to do it before May of next year. I don't know that it's necessary unless potentially one of these other aeronautical leases that are in the process of going through their checklist want the property that the non-aeronautical tenant is on. And then I think we got some talking to do about, you know, to what extent we're willing to allow a non-aeronautical tenant to occupy prime real estate on, you know, on the runway environment. So I don't think that that's necessarily come to a head yet. I think with both Rockland and potentially Banks and potentially Billman as well, it could be a topic. And while I don't want to, you know, I don't want to run off any tenant, I think we do have to think very clearly about, you know, where we put people on the property and making sure that aeronautical tenants have access to the runway environment that would make more sense to me
Right.
anyway than a non-aeronautical tenant.
Yes.
But, so I guess I'm saying I don't think there's anything right now that we have to do with respect to the Cloudbusters. It sounds like though, Craig, the leases need to be sent to the FAA for their review. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay, so can you do that this month?
Sure.
Okay. Any discussion or other things on that topic?
Jim, are you suggesting that those items be made agenda items for a future meeting?
Well, I think once we get the response from the FAA on what they expect from us regarding these non-aeronautical leases, I would assume that we would have to get some appraisals done in order to be able to apply fair market value standard to these non-aeronautical tenants, and whether or not we could or should do that in advance of the FAA's, looking at the lease or not, I don't know.
That makes sense.
I'm treading on, uncharted waters here, so any suggestions the other board members have, I'm interested.
I think that timeline or that process is logical, that we have the FAA review the leases and then get back with us about what they're going to require, and then address that at a future meeting.
Okay. So maybe if we get those off to them this month, Craig, we can get something back and potentially add it as a agenda item to next month, or if we're not done by next month, the following month's board meeting.
Okay.
Thank you. Partnerships I've talked about already. The co-chair thing, can you refresh my memory on that one, Craig?
I just put that on there as situational awareness. It's not, I don't think it's a real, they were actually trying to sell us something, so.
What were they trying to sell us?
Service for charter flights. Just an app that there's access to an app to buy discounted charter flights.
Oh.
They want to build another facility for like a charter hub, but this airport does not really even have very many charter flights. Very little.
Gotcha.
So the airport really been paying for advertisement. Sounds like.
I don't know about that, but it doesn't make sense why a company would, I don't know, to me, it felt like a way for them to get us into a meeting for a possible idea. But by the way, you can sign an LOI to buy into our app today.
That sound cost effective for us here at the moment.
Last thing I had on your briefing, Craig, and again, thanks for doing this. I think it really enhances our situational awareness of what's going on at the airport, so thank you. The last thing I had, I think I skipped over, was the food truck non-aeronautical lease. Can you describe to the board what that's about?
Yeah, she wants to put a food truck, I guess I say permanently, but nothing will be permanently attached to airport property over across the street here on the concrete pads.
And who is this again?
I think Cafe 42J, she's naming it. I forget her name off the top of my head. But I'm waiting on her to come back to me with next steps. She said she needed to talk to her bank about loans and that kind of thing.
This isn't the one that does the hot dogs on
No.
Okay.
So you submitted that request to the FAA for her?
I did. I didn't want to waste her time if they were going to require all the other steps that a normal non-aeronautical tenant would require. And so I did submit that to them, and they gave me their approval.
And is that another thing that requires some fair market value assessment?
Nope. I mean, it does to an extent, but not in the form of an appraisal.
So how do we determine the lead?
Yeah, they said just use local, what food trucks are being charged to be on other people's properties.
Okay. So they're essentially running the tenant checklist, prospective tenant checklist, and then we'll get back and have more for the board in the future.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Any questions on Craig's briefing? from anyone else?
I have no other questions.
Cool, thank you.
All right, well, thank you. City of Keystone Heights, Mr.
We have
Booth.
Oh, wait a minute.
Oh,
You missed an item.
budget, that's right.
Just a little item.
25, 26 budget. Where are we
So-
at in that?
Typically, in the past, I've been told to budget for zero. It's kind of not the easiest thing because you have to find buckets to put money into, but what I did was and this is obviously just my idea, not, the board can decide what to do, but if there's any excess funds at the end of the year, that goes into like a capital expenditure fund for other things that we need, roofs, wells. And then a well is something we need, which is not on this budget. And that's another thing to explain is that it was on a previous version of the budget, it was on it. We took it off because I consider, just like we did for our truck, we did not include that in our annual budget because it's a capital expense. So really, if a well costs $50,000, it doesn't, what I found that we, we're over at the end of the year doesn't even cover that.
So what do we need to do?
I don't
We need
know.
to,
I think you just need to, I think we have to approve the budget to get it to City Hall. And I don't know what else could be changed on this budget unless someone has some direction on that.
So just as a reminder, from our workshop, we took the information from the workshop and Craig has changed our proposed budget at the workshop to include that. So the budget that's before us tonight is, there's a couple of things there. We made those changes and included the last bottom line item that Craig just listed as the capital expenditure savings, so we come out to a zero. He also provided in your packet, so the budget that you have there has 4 columns. The first column being is titled projected. That's basically this year, the year 24-25 budget number. So from that, then he has 3 additional columns, 3%, 4%, 5%. And as Mr. Fryer had brought up during the workshop, because that budget only included 3%, and we could see from that with the expenses, and all this is based on QuickBooks, it's historical income and expense information, that 3% probably wasn't going to be enough. So that's the reason that Craig has provided for us here 2 other options, a 4% or a 5%. And this impacts the revenue side only, because our expenses, again, are based on historical data of what we've spent. Now, with respect to legal, we did increase that because,
Right.
the litigation that we're in, we increased it a significant amount and probably needs to be more than that. But from a budget standpoint of what we're having to work with, then, I helped Craig with this a little bit. So that's the numbers you have. So the decision that has to be made, I think, first is, are we going to go 3%, 4%, 5% on the budget side? And then obviously then a motion to approve, the budget that we finalize here.
right. Any other discussion on the budget?
I gotta admit, I don't understand what I'm looking at. Maybe I'm the dumb one here, but the 3, 4, 5% is an increase or of what?
It's an increase. The leases are mostly based on a CPI.
Valuation?
Right. Some leases are capped at 3%. And I tried to adhere to all those in my budget.
So what we're looking at.
So the 3% is you would say, that's actually a separate line item besides the budget, I think, is a CPI increase for the next fiscal year.
3, 4, or 5% is an increase of the leases from the previous
Correct.
established rate,
Of the current budget.
or the current budget, the current budget.
Correct.
What have you been doing?
So historically,
Right.
I have my budget folder with me. I had those numbers. Last year we did 3.5. Year before we did 7.
Whoa.
It was a 7.5.
Yeah,
I don't remember exactly what the number was. One of the things that we looked at besides CPI is an annual adjustment, and just looking at our expenses from the previous year and trying to figure out, okay, what are we going to see an increase in? So that's how historically, we've done that.
So somebody needs
So
to make a motion, 3, 4, 5?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, sir.
Are those different columns, are they just increase in fees to our tenants for their property?
That's
Is that all
correct.
those are?
That's correct. All of your T-hanger leases, as well as your MHD Rockland lease or whatever it may be, the whole listing that's there, income from leases, then if their lease does not restrict an amount, here's an example, Rockland's leases has a 3% cap. So that's why when you look at their line item, you see it even under 4%, 5% columns, it's the same amount because they're capped at 3%. So any lease that has a cap, Craig has taken that into account in the printout that you have in front of you.
Craig,
Is it,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
is it just a typo at the top where it says,
Yes.
under the 3%,
Yes.
it says 25?
You already know.
The other
Yes.
page,
Yes.
20. Okay, so they're all 25 to 26.
Correct.
Okay, gotcha. Sorry. Go ahead, Scott.
So Craig, under total income, just above gross profit, this year shows 1,333,000, blah, blah, blah. Next year shows 1,313 for the 3%, 16 and 19. Is that only because you're projected to make more money than was budgeted for last year? I mean, for this year?
Well, I reduced fuel sales
Fuel sales.
next year.
Is the big.
Okay,
That's
because this
why
is
it's small.
income. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm seeing the numbers go down a little bit, so.
But you can see the different columns on the total income. It doesn't move the needle a ton.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not a big move between 3% and 5%.
Yeah. And I just looked up the current CPIU, if anybody, which is historically, I think, what we've used. And that's all CPIs combined. I forget the actual definition of it, but 2.7% for July to 24 to July of 25.
So,
So the legal fees, you only increased 5,000 for next year from this year?
No, I think we did quite a bit more than that, so I could be wrong. Maybe that's one of the things we adjusted.
yeah, you've only got it on all three columns, you got 30,000.
Yeah, and you know what? I knew.
But that's gonna be hard.
Enough.
That's gonna be hard to pinpoint.
Exactly.
Whatever you put there, it's gonna be off, so. The only thing I don't understand, so a lot of these figures remain the same, like satellite TV, let's just,
On your expenses, we only did one increase. We don't know what it's going to be next year or the second year. That's why all of your expenses, we went with a budgeted number.
with what they are currently.
Correct. And
Okay.
what we're proposing for this year's coming budget. The only thing that changed in your printout are the revenue or the income side that's affected by the 3, 4, and 5%.
Okay, okay.
And just the 3% column under the
So
expenses.
the budget's remaining the same except for the T hangers or the leases, basically.
Well, no, because the expenses, let me look back again.
Well, I'm talking about on income,
Correct.
on leases.
That's correct.
But typically, we just vote on that separately, or we have in the past. So what are we voting on here? Your overall budget?
I think so.
The overall budget plus 3, 4, or 5%, correct?
That's correct.
Well, you don't have to use that round number. I don't know. Maybe you do.
Well, that's what's presented here.
I know that, but I didn't have, it was, in theory, I guess that's what we've done is it's just easier to do 3, 4, and 5 instead of 2.7, 4 point,
Right, right.
And that's a good question. I don't even know if I suppose we could go through and calculate each lease 2.7%, but.
I guess what I'm just not used to, okay, so when I did my budget where I worked, my expenses I would take up too. And we haven't done that on this. And that's just what's throwing me off. Is so like airfield maintenance right now, we got $7,500. So I would go up 3% on that column. I would actually take it up by 3%. That would probably hyperinflate this whole budget. And like I say, there's unknowns.
So the reason that Craig didn't do that is in looking at our year-to-date P&L, profit and loss.
Right.
Budget versus actual.
Right.
The number that we had in our budget column, what we had actually spent to date, and taking into account we've got one more month because our fiscal year ends September 31.
Right.
Then what we did, we looked at that, and where that amount was less, we were less than the budget.
You
That's
hope
why
those
you-
average out.
Well, that's why you have a smaller number. And then even with, like the 75 airfield maintenance, for example. Actually, Airport Alarm System, the budget's higher. We had budgeted 1320 for this year.
Okay.
But actually, when we looked at the numbers year-to-date plus next month, then we said, okay, well, we can drop that number back. It
So
can
it might
be,
only be $820 or something.
yeah, so that's why you'll see some changes there where we didn't just do an across-the-board increase of all the expenses
Okay.
under the 3, 4, 5% column.
How does our Jet A fuel truck lease go half?
Because we're getting,
Get a new truck, yeah,
Yeah.
and that'll go away.
Wouldn't that go to zero then?
no, because we have to pay for it about 4 months into the year.
Yeah, we've got a few more months to pay on it
Oh, gotcha.
before we get the new truck.
Okay. And the water well expenses, if we did the new one?
No, that budget number does not include a completely new well.
So how's it go from 1,800 to 500?
It went from 18,000 to 500. 18,000 was
Yeah, that's-
projected.
There was yeah, that's confusing, but I wouldn't really.
Well, water well expenses is probably like working on the water softener and having the
Salt.
lab testing and salt and.
Yeah.
So Jim, originally when they thought 18,000, they were comparing it to a residential well, which
That's
would
right.
probably be pretty
That's
on
correct.
target. And then we had I think it was Bronco, well, I'm not gonna say a name. We had a couple of different well drilling companies come out, and they ranged from 42 to 46,000 because it was a public well and has
Yeah,
a lot of different criteria. But that again
Yeah.
would be a capital expenditure.
so how to go 15,000 to 500?
Because we didn't get the well.
We had budgeted 18,000 for a well. Then we realized that that was the cost for a residential well, but the bids were actually reflecting what a public use well cost would be, that 43 to
Right.
46,000. So that's why we said, well, we can't put it in the budget here. It's going to bust our budget. But we can, like we did the truck, it's a capital expenditure. So that's why we took the 40,000 out that we had been talking about previously.
500 is a maintenance.
And so the 500 is just the maintenance that we have to do to the existing
Maintain.
wells that we have.
Okay, so I'm gonna make a motion that we accept the proposed budget with the 3% increase for the 25-26 fiscal year.
All right, we have a motion.
What,
Yes, go ahead.
so that 3% increase, I'm sorry, I'm still trying to process here the information. That 3% increase yields us with a surplus of what amount?
Well, you may not have a surplus of anything depending upon what expenses are this year, but
Well,
An increase of,
to give you a better, if you look, let's see what page this is. The second page down where it says income, total income, he's cut it back primarily, I think, did you say due to jet fuel sales or just fuel sales in general?
Jet fuel.
Jet fuel.
Because there may not be as many flights. So if you raise, I guess it's bad on that line, that's probably not the best thing, but that's your total income. But 3% would yield 1.313 million. 4% would be another 3,000 on top of that. And at 5%, it would be another 6,000 over the total of the year.
so it's only a $3,000 difference giving each percentage increase.
Pretty much.
It's just based on hangar leases though, really. Because everything else kind of remains the same. If for some reason he does sell more fuel, the income will be greater. If he sells less fuel, the income will be less. That's one of the few variables that, that comes into play.
So is there a budget item for us to do the other well?
No, because it's a capital expenditure. We'd have to, on a capital expenditure, typically, the way we did it, you look 5 years ahead and you start putting money aside for that. The other thing that may not be mentioned here is the new BIL hangar listed here?
No.
So we're going to have income from that, but that depends on when it gets built. So you'll have some revenue coming from that hangar too. So those
How
are
much
very,
capital expenditure do we have to spend for a new well then, based on this budget?
you don't, I mean, it's not budgeted. It doesn't appear to me.
Last
So how
year,
are we budgeting capital improvements?
We need to start, well, that's what our workshop is for. We need to decide what things we want in the future. And we need to start putting money in the piggy bank, so to speak, to get to that point.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm asking. How much is in the piggy bank based on this budget if we were to approve it at 3%?
35,000 roughly.
is in there now.
35,
Say that's in that line item right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
where
So-
did you see that 35,000, Craig?
All the way at the bottom,
look on page 25 of 25.
very last page.
and you'll see at the top of the page, total expenses and then a capital expenditure savings.
Okay. So 32,000 is all that we have in the kitty.
Well, that would be at the end of this budgeted year, the expected amount.
Right.
We only have about $25,000 in what I consider to be a capital expenditure account.
And is there some guidance somewhere that would inform us as to what should be a healthy capital expenditure kitty for an airport like ours, or is it something that is the same as it is normal years? This is my first time doing it, so I don't know what I'm.
Yeah, I don't think we have nearly enough, to be honest with you.
Jim, I think it would depend on what you want to include in that capital expenditure. What projects or what items and what those amounts would be, and then when do you want them? As Scott alluded to, typically you have these items in a capital expenditure plan or capital improvement plan, and then you got to come up, you start saving money toward that. That's typically what's done. I was looking on our P&L.
But we don't have that.
I guess it would just require that we come up with a list, a wish list, if you will, and that's what a capital expenditure list is, if you will. It's things that you want. Maybe a want list is a better way to put it. And then you direct the airport manager to work towards that goal of saving that money. The thing that ties his hands, if we don't have a profitable year or the John Deere requires an $8,000 repair, that money may come out of a different kitty. I'm not sure, but you know, we would have to say we want this much set aside each year from our profit to set aside for a capital expenditure or capital improvements.
And Jim, if you look on your P&L, budget versus actual, that was part of the packet. It's page 3 of 25, but there is a line item contingency fund, and we had monies in that last year, well, this year, and there's some monies that I think was still there, but we actually spent those with the spraying. We used a lot of that contingency fund money. Correct me if I'm right, Craig.
Yeah, probably.
For that. So that is a line item that could be used to accomplish what we're talking about here.
Did you say contingency fund?
Yes.
Okay, and right now it's 0 and 3872, is that the line you're looking at?
Yeah, that was a budgeted number, I think, that got held over from last year. But it's 0 now, and any of these that come back out as 0, when you export this to an Excel file, those line items that have 0 balance don't show up in your export. So that's why I'd have to go back to Craig's printout, but his spreadsheet, that was a spreadsheet he gave us. I don't think that it's listed there, and that's the reason you don't see it on the income side.
And I think, I'm not sure about this. Typically, most corporations do want, you know, like anything else, they want a deadline. But we can add a capital expenditure anytime during the year. We can put it on the want list. You might put it out for year 2027 or 2028. And again, different incomes may change during the year, such as that hangar that's going to be built. That'll be a revenue stream that we didn't have before. Any potential tenants.
Will that be done? Will that be done in 26?
I don't know.
End of the year.
No, Bill's saying probably near the end of the year, so it probably won't impact this year. But you've got other potential tenants seeking to lease ground. I mean, it may not be a huge amount, but so your income could change. Again, there could be more fuel sales, but you could also have less fuel sales. You know, the economy is always in flux, so.
And the reality is you could also have an increase in expenses, which we know that we're probably going to see that with the legal side. So there is the process too of amending your budget during the year when needed. So we can always do that as well.
What about the new fair market values? That's huge.
Yeah, I know. I didn't even,
Why do
I
we-
didn't know what to put in there really, so.
But
a
that's not
major
in there.
change. I know it's not.
So you got 3 tenants. The FAA is saying, change your lease.
Right.
So,
Well, one for sure right now.
no, we didn't talk about this, but you can't do it for one and not do it for
I
3.
know that.
They're all going to
I
have to be
know that.
They're all
updated.
gonna have to be updated.
DFA is not telling us we have to do 3, they're telling us we have to do 1 right now.
We're
Okay, I missed-
proactively going to look at the other 2.
See, I misunderstood all of that from a year and a half or 2 years ago. Before all this came, everybody knew FAA had come down to airports and said, you will change the fair market value for any non-aeronautical person on your airport. That
Yes.
was directed 2 years ago.
Right.
We just haven't done it. Now, we've been in a battle for one. The other 2, you can't let them slide. So all I'm,
Yeah, no, I don't
so all
think
I'm
so.
saying, there's 3 that has the potential
Yeah,
that once we get everything settled, and it should be 2027, it should be 2025. We
right.
should have all that here in the next couple of months if we're doing our part and getting the appraisals, and that's income. That's not us doing it, that's the FAA saying you will change their lease. So that's,
Yeah.
in my opinion, that's gonna be a lot of money.
Well, I agree, but I'm not going to count my chickens, you know.
Right, I got you,
I mean,
but that is what's supposed to happen.
that's
Right,
correct.
right.
Okay,
But for budget purposes, I
Right,
think we've
right.
got to
I
work
got you.
with this.
I
what
got
we
you.
know.
So therefore, I call for the question.
Okay,
Okay, well, Mr. Frame, did you have a comment?
Just one nuance, Buck. The guidance from FAA was adjust rates to fair market value at the next lease renewal.
oh, I didn't catch that.
Yeah, which for the firm, you have been at a lease renewal.
Okay,
I don't know about the other leases.
I thought
but
that was a year.
The other,
It's not a blanket,
Okay,
you don't
all right,
interrupt a lease in the middle.
gotcha. That,
It's just
okay.
a fair market value unless the tenant is somehow crazy willing to do that.
Is that a yearly for the other 2? Or are they on a different lease?
They're ready to be, I think the RC club, we'd have to, wait till
they're an
May, I
update,
think, or something, but,
they're an update status.
All right, that's fine.
yeah. But they are
You
ready.
answered my question.
They are
I'm
ready.
good.
Yeah, the RC lease, Buck, was updated in May. It kind of went past us before we realized that they had automatically renewed the lease
Okay.
without us applying the fair market value. I'm not sure when the one is for the Rod Gun Club or
Gotcha.
whatever it is, so.
Okay,
We gotta figure that one out too, but
Okay.
I think it may be later in the year before we actually see any of those revenues increase.
gotcha.
So I guess the bottom line to me is, we have to plan the budget as best we can, obviously with the unknowns of inflation and, increases in, expenses and those kinds of things. But if we want to plan for capital improvements, then we have to figure out how we're gonna do them. If we want to assume we're not gonna do any capital improvements, then that obviously can also affect the budget. So right now, as I look at what the bottom line is in terms of our ability to spend money to do things that we're not currently doing, that would be, for example, putting in a well, or potentially trying to fix some of these roofs that we're hearing are in need of repair. That's still a debate to be figured out whether or not that's a responsibility of us or of the tenant, which, I don't know if Jim Taylor's still there or not, but I think we are in somewhat agreement that the responsibility to fix roofs on the warehouses that Craig mentioned earlier are actually, I think, the responsibility of the tenant, because this isn't like a residential lease. This is a commercial lease, and in commercial leases, the assumption are that the repairs of the facilities are burdened on the tenant. But if we wanted to do something, some of those things, then we obviously have to budget the money for it. So right now, I see 32,000 is essentially our funding money that we have to be able to play with to do capital improvements on the property that we think we will be able to have. And who knows, that may be less, maybe more, depending on, inflation and leases and those type of things. So, but if that's adequate and we're happy with it, then maybe the 3% budget is right. If not, then I think we have to address, okay, what are we gonna do? Are we gonna charge more for our leases, or are we gonna accept that we're not gonna do these capital improvement things? I think that's what the board needs to discuss. Any other inputs or thoughts on that thought process?
So have we discussed putting X amount aside in that account on a routine basis?
You all want me to withdraw my motion? We've got a motion and a second on the table. I've called for the question.
Right.
Are we gonna vote or are we not gonna vote? Do I need to withdraw it?
I do not want you to withdraw your motion,
It
actually.
sounds like a workshop to me.
We have a motion, we do have a second. If we have no other discussion, I guess we could make our vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Nay. I don't see how we can vote on this when we haven't even discussed what is the consequences of it. I don't understand how we can responsibly say, yes, we're gonna vote on this budget when we haven't decided, are we willing to sacrifice the capital improvements? That seems silly to do. I'm not following what we're doing here. This is my first time doing it, so maybe I'm stupid, but I don't see how you vote on a budget increase and how much when you haven't decided.
We've had a budget workshop before, though, and we can have future budget workshops at any time. Do you want to have a workshop on it?
Well, ultimately, the board has to decide what the budget increase, if there's gonna be one. And I guess you guys have already decided, so I guess it's pointless to discuss it now, but I just don't understand
Well,
what the hell we're doing.
well now,
Well, we've been doing
wait a
this for
minute.
several years, so.
We need to submit a budget to the
That's what
city
I'm
by
trying to
what
learn.
time?
What now?
We need to submit a budget to the city by what date?
Oh, it's gotta be here soon.
I don't remember what that is.
So I am sure there's something in the
I think it's
codes and
next month.
ordinances, but what I can tell you is because City Keystone Heights, General, for Jamie Booth speaking, because City Heights
Yeah.
budget, first reading of our budget is now on the 18th of September. That's the first time our city council will be meeting where this budget would go before them. I think that's after y'all's next regularly scheduled meeting. So I'll just leave it at that. I don't think the city is going to take any action on any budget that the airport proposes until the 18th of September.
18th of September, okay.
I've had on my phone for previous years, August 1st has been the deadline that we've submitted to the city,
I thought it was August, yeah.
so.
Well, as he said, if we need to come back and review and amend the budget, we can always do that.
Correct.
And again, we could have a workshop on capital expenditures and kind of brainstorm what we need, how we're going to raise those revenues.
Right.
Therefore, just for a matter of
So I
discussion,
guess-
Jim,
Sorry, go ahead.
for a number of years, one of our city councilmen would attend our meetings. This is when we were over in the other boardroom before this FBO even existed. And he would say, how do y'all pay your bills? We were always in the red, always in the red. And I know the airport manager we had then would have to shuffle sometimes money from the fuel account to the payroll account and then get the employees paid. I mean, it was difficult. There were some rough years. Craig's done a really good job on this, on getting this budget together. And we just don't have a lot of extra. This is not, I'm even surprised when I see the number of operations that come in this airport. But I think Craig will tell you, a lot of those are touch and goes. There are student pilots that don't stop and buy fuel. They're using our airport, using our facilities, and we're a public facility. But it is kind of hard to understand. It takes a while to get your head wrapped around it, but we can certainly have a workshop anytime you want about it. And I suppose we could even, we probably wouldn't want to bring in our accountant, but get better educated, and see if there's ways we can raise the revenue. We still, again, have, unfortunately, Ms. Hall resigned. But if we do a tree harvest, if we had a logging harvest this next year, that will impact us in a positive way, or hopefully it would. So there's a lot of variables.
So the tree harvesting,
Sure.
just to give you some info on that, I talked to Carlton Scott, and he said there were some grant monies available, but it was still gonna cost the airport many, many tens of thousands, probably up to 50, to do this work that, like clearing and
Replanting.
yeah, all that kind of stuff. And so I told him, with our first run through the budget, we were $55,000 in the hole. And so I told him that, and he did give me his quote unquote approval that we could cut first, but the money from trees would have to go into an account that could only be used to do this other work, prep site work to turn the land over. So just want to make sure I pass that along to everybody.
No, and you just made me think.
How does he dictate that?
Yeah, that's a good question, sir. Yes, sir. That's a good observation.
I haven't seen him on the board here yet.
Yeah, I know.
You talking about Carlton?
Yeah.
He came in and did a really good presentation. The other thing that gets confusing about budgets, and David will have to tell you if I'm wrong or not, but it's something that took me a while to get my head wrapped around when I was at the power plant, is you depreciate your assets every year over it's a varying amount. We did ours over a 32-year cycle. And buildings that are out here are actually depreciated, and that hurts your overall budget too, at least on paper it does.
It affects your balance sheet, it affects your P&L.
Right. So there's a lot of things that don't make sense in the accounting world, but I guess that's why I'm not an accountant, so.
So it sounds like we may want to have a future workshop to iron out some questions on the budget perhaps, or maybe if need be. But Mr. Jamie, anything you would like to share? Oh, was there something else, Jim?
Yeah, I was just thinking, I guess what we have to decide is, do we want to do any capital improvements? If we don't, then the budget's fine, right? If we think that there needs to be some capital improvements, then we have to get together and figure out how we're gonna fund them.
Exactly.
I don't
yes.
know that we could afford to do them this year, even the well, to be honest. And keep sufficient reserves in the bank to write checks to contractors and AECom until we get reimbursed.
Jim, I think what would be a good idea, when you get back, sit down with Craig, let him share, some other information about the reason that we keep reserves in our accounts like we do. And I think that will enlighten you somewhat as to why our budget's so tight, what it is that we deal with. So I think the two of y'all have a conversation about that. But I'm open to a future workshop if need be for talking about, discussing it.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Jim Taylor said he would work and provide his services for free plane rides. And maybe an occasional box of donuts from Mr. Barney.
There you go, now you're talking. No more nuts, please.
All right, thanks. Mr. Jamie?
All right, gentlemen, I think the only thing of note from the city for the airport authority is we are actively seeking to refill city seat number 1. We will fill that one for the remainder of the current seats tenure, which should be through May 2028. That's how we'll advertise it. And we do already have it up on the city billboard outside of City Hall. We'll have it posted on the city website. I think we were trying to get make sure we had the tenures right and all that. And so we'll get that up on the city website as well. What I would ask is, I do know that a lot of the time the community surrounding the airport knows who might be potential board members. So I'd ask y'all get the word out and refer folks to the city website. Y'all know the application's there. If y'all can help us get that word out. We do have one person that had almost a standing application, and that's the only one that we have at this time. Not that I would expect any reaction faster than that, but we do have one applicant at this point.
You got a name?
Mr. Fields, Franklin Fields, if I remember correctly.
When's the posting come down?
The posting.
The last date that they can apply?
You know what? That's probably one thing I was shooting to try and I don't know where y'all sit, but I was assuming we'd want to try and have applicants in front of the city council meeting on the 18th of September. Unless there's not a rush and y'all thought maybe we needed to take a little more time. I saw in some document where, I don't know, 2 decades ago, they tried to fill these within 90 days. There's no set program out there that shows us exactly how this is supposed to happen. And so, but right now, what I was targeting was the 18th, is having applicants in front of the city council on the 18th of September.
And that was city seat number 1?
City seat number 1.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. That's it.
That's all I have, I'm sorry.
All right, thanks. Well, any other comments from the board members? My only comment is that I would just like to give a thank you for Grant Hooks, who provided assistance in having the airport sign re-erected back at
That's right. I forgot.
the entrance for Airport Road.
Thank you for remembering that.
He was very helpful in doing that.
Yeah, I saw you guys out there and I just kept on driving.
For shame. No, it didn't take us long to do that at all.
Yeah.
So,
I think a microburst took that down this week.
Yeah.
The weather came through, man,
Yeah.
it was something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we have to do like a big live.
Yeah.
I think it's not very sturdily at this time. Sturdily. Any other by the ways or comments? If not, then our meeting's adjourned at 7:34. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Thank you,
Thank you,
Ive.
Jim.
You're looking good today, Ive. You're looking good.
Enjoy your vacation.
Appreciate the feedback. Good job. Thank you.
Yeah.
Who seconded the consent agenda?
Which one?
I made the motion on the consent agenda. Who did the second?
Oh, I think Buck did.
Yeah, Buck did, yeah.
On the budget?
The consent agenda, the very beginning of the meeting.
I'm reading some of the language that I'm trying to figure it out, so I'll reach out. Same thing you're doing. Trying to figure it out. I'll reach out. Okay.
You did good.
Thanks.
Right.
Still learning. But I guess we were just going down that rabbit hole now. It's just like, I think we need to have a
Well,
workshop.
I agree. Yeah,
So,
that's true.
See, that's why I say here though.
Oh, okay.
right,
This kind of stuff.
And that hit list that he had corrected, I thought was good. Like the secondary agenda, so I didn't know he was gonna go line item by line. He'll learn, I know he'll learn. He's trying to do a good
Yeah.
job, but
She's gonna walk.
that's just, got a little too in depth.
Okay.
And
So in fact, that's something he could have probably thrown down the plate on that thing. Yeah. Okay, y'all have a good night.
All right, Scott, you too.
I saw Barb out at the mailbox.
Yeah.
She's doing good.
Oh, she's doing great.
Yeah.
She is so far ahead.
Physical therapist can't come back anymore.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, she was well advanced even after the first week. As far as her range of movement and what she was able to do.
does she go to the gym with you?
Yeah.
So that's probably what.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe I have.
Yeah. The surgeon said from the get-go, he said, you're going to just blow through your recovery. It'll be so much
Yeah,
quicker.
so, yeah, she was out there talking to Joey and then I bumped him, he moved on and we talked.
That's what she said. She said you saw the
I
bear.
know of.
You saw the bear?
So.
Yes, in fact, I called
I haven't talked to her since I was
FWC.
in school with her.
I did not
And
know
I can't remember
this
if
was
she's
black
older
bears.
or
I knew they could travel like 50 miles. They said 500 miles.
Oh, yeah.
So they don't trap them unless they become aggressive. But I saw it on South 66, coming back from talking to them in the broad daylight. And he or she was sitting over there in the ditch and I just eased up. Of course, I couldn't get my phone out quick enough. As soon as I brought the phone out, I just stepped right into it. But I put out a thing on the home sites, the lady from FWC. We got a black bear over in the neighborhood now, so.
Yeah, right over here.
Yeah, like 2 or 3
So,
sites.
Right.
I don't know if you were on the board at the time, but a biologist from
Submerged land.
Camp Landing came years ago.
Okay,
And some of the bears that they collar, they actually track.
right.
One was called, nicknamed Liberace because he had a silver mane, beard, kind of deal.
Okay.
And
The water goes out.
DeWitt Hersey, so they had tracked him.
Wilbur comes along.
He came through the airport
With his truck.
and crossed over 100, went into DeWitt Hersey, DeWitt Helen Hersey's property.
Down.
Off of Francis Gray.
Riparian of
He
their
would have
property
a
or on their
profile
property?
over there for deer.